Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Warrior Connections on Beyond FM Radio. I'm Desi, and tonight, this episode is deeply personal for all of us. As many of you know, our sweet friend and co host, editor, battle buddy, the girl with many different roles in this ministry, Trisha has been walking through a difficult season, physically and spiritually. Well, she heals. Tonight, we're going to be interviewing her about the battle that she's gone through and some changes, good changes for a temporary season here at Warrior Connections. But tonight's episode is about her healing, friendship, and how God has carried us through this battle and what we never expected to face. During sickness, exhaustion, and spiritual warfare, Trisha has continued serving behind the scenes, editing shows when she could, praying for others, and fighting quietly while many people never saw the weight she was carrying. Tonight, we're joined with Steve again, and we're going to have a real conversation, just three battle buddies and God, and how God has been teaching us along the way, and that hope looks like in the middle of healing. So if you're listening tonight and you're feeling exhausted, discouraged, or overwhelmed, this conversation may be exactly what you need. And let's get to it on Warrior Connections.
Well,
Always wordy for you, Trisha.
I appreciate that. That was very lengthy. You know how I
It
love a good
usually is.
lengthy introduction. Thanks for having me as a guest, which is kind of interesting. It's kind of you two are supposed to
Different.
be interviewing me tonight, which is exciting. Z and I received this award from Beyond FM Radio, Podcaster of the Year. And it was like super meaningful. It meant so much to her and I to be appreciated and feel like we were a part of something, like we were really achieving something, right? Because someone was acknowledging our hard work and our efforts to not only to Warrior Connections, but also to Beyond FM Radio, who we are very grateful to be affiliated with. So we get this award and we're like, what are we going to do? How are we going to, share it with the world? How awesome we are. We're going to go live. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And we had, I'm like really stuck in my head trying to come up with some really crafty, fun way to do something about it.
I think we were going to do like a Grammys
Yeah.
thing. And I'll do anything to wear a ball gown. So
right. Oh, I know.
I would have been like showing
nice
up with a
little
ball
pink
gown
dress.
on.
But at the end of March, beginning of April, my husband came home on Friday the 1st, April 1st, and was feverish. And I thought, oh, yeah, here we go, right before Easter. My family all came over for Easter on that Saturday. We had this great day and went to church. And I'm sitting in church, and all of a sudden, it hit me like a ton of bricks. All of a sudden, I was like, oh, I have a fever. I am sick in church. And I thought, oh, I better do something, right? So I head home. And come to find out, I had like 101.6 temperature. Crawled in bed next to my sick husband, and thought, I'm gonna just wade this out like he is. He was starting to already feel a little bit better, and that was the beginning of a month-long fever. For an entire month, I had a fever, and my husband, of course, got better within about 24 hours, and I just kept getting worse and worse and worse. I had a rash all over my body. My temperature had gotten up to about 105.1 at one point, which was just, words cannot express how just literally jacked up I was. Like, I was a mess. I couldn't keep anything down. I couldn't eat anything. I was drinking a lot of water, so I was staying hydrated. And this is going to get graphic. Sorry, y'all, but this is really kind of an important part of my story. And I'm going to back up a little bit. I had a aunt who had bone marrow cancer. And she was like my fourth child. She was someone who was not very well equipped to live as an adult. She was kind of just needed a lot of assistance. So I took care of her through her entire cancer battle. About a week before she died, we get to the hospital and she had helped me with a good choice of words here. She had defecated, she had let loose all over herself.
Aw.
Um, and then she died less than 2 weeks later. So when I got sick, and I, of course, had, it coming out both ends, if you will, um, there was a point where I did not make it to the bathroom, which was like a PTSD moment for me, remembering my aunt and remembering her trauma around that. And I thought I was going to die. I mean, it was one of those things that, Satan ran with in my head,
Right.
like
So, at what point did you realize that this battle was becoming something serious and you needed to slow down? Like, you knew it.
I really got to a point, Desi, where within a couple of days, I realized I couldn't. I wasn't getting out of bed. I wasn't functioning. Like it was a full on attack to the degree I've never experienced. In fact, one of the things that I've said recently is, my testimony. I wrote a book on my testimony, my aha moment of where God brought me to this place of realization of my need to serve him and be grateful to him was my near death experience in my car accident. Now, that near death experience lasted about a day, maybe two, where there was question as to whether or not I was going to live or question as to whether or not I was going to lose my leg. This was a month-long fear of, and I say fear loosely because I really wasn't afraid, but there was times where I was really, I knew I was under attack. I knew it was spiritual warfare. I knew it was the devil trying to take me out mentally, physically, emotionally, and even spiritually, maybe even mostly spiritually. I ended up by day 3 of having temperatures over 103 and not being able to really get it under control. My body started shutting down. I couldn't move. I couldn't move my legs. I couldn't really move my arms. Could move my arms a little, but it really hurt. And I had this spotty rash all over my body. And Michael, my husband, was like, okay, it's time. We need to go to the ER. And then this is Thursday. So I went Saturday all the way to Thursday, in bed, not really able to move, all of those symptoms. I don't have insurance. I lost my job back in 2023 and now I'm self-employed. So when I lost my job, I was uninsured. So going to the ER is a big deal because you're talking a couple $1,000s just to walk in the door. I am one to really put that off. When I went in there, they ended up quickly getting me care, and they wanted to diagnose me with, flu, norovirus, like you had been concerned it was. And so at one point in time, they decided to do a CAT scan. The CAT scan didn't really show any signs of anything other than I did and probably still do have an enlarged spleen, which wasn't the biggest concern. The biggest concern was the 12-centimeter cyst or tumor on my ovary, which had nothing to do with why I was there, of course. But praise God, I was there and got that CT
I was just
scan
gonna say that.
to be able to know that it was a thing because obviously, I had no insurance, right? ER doctor comes in and says, we didn't find anything in your upper GI area, but we did find a suspicious cancerous tumor on your ovaries. And I just looked at him and I started laughing. I was like, well, first of all, it's not cancer. And second of all, that's not why I'm here. Let's focus on why I'm here. And we'll deal with that later. It's important. Thank you for letting me know. But I need to get the fever situation under control. I ended up staying in the hospital for 5 days. At one point in time, I had 8 bags hanging, different antibiotics
Wow.
and things like that. Looked very ICU-ish. It was pretty scary. I wasn't able to move. I was, um, covered in these rashes on my legs and my arms and my chest and occasionally on my face. And probably the part of my story that it was so difficult for me was, the song, and even when he's working, even when you don't see it, he's working. Even when you don't feel it, he's working. He never stops working. I knew that song. I'd sang that song. But there were times where I was having the conversation with God. I know you're there. I know this is your plan. I know there's a purpose for this. But I don't feel you. I don't feel you there with me. Mm. I feel alone. I feel distant from you. And I struggled a great deal with that. And Desi, you had mentioned the other day something that was very helpful, and that was that a teacher is always quiet during the test. And I had not really thought that way. But it was very true. He was quiet. So with that feeling of distance,
It's awful.
yeah, I did not handle it well. I felt like, woe is me. This isn't fair. I didn't do like you did in the hospital. I did not play Christian music. I didn't listen to podcasts. I just laid there. And a lot of it was because I didn't want to. I didn't want to hear things. I didn't want to talk to people. I mean, noise, things just were very hyper. I was very hypersensitive to a lot. So even like, and I remember texting you a screenshot of my screen time on my phone being an hour and 23 minutes a day. And I was like, this is a sign I'm really sick because it's normally around 4 hours a day. So
Mhm.
it was a pretty good indication that I was not doing well. Um, I didn't even have any desire to, pick up my phone or like I was really that
Or
miserable.
message me. I'm just
I
saying.
know I didn't message anybody, and my mom was messaging Michael saying what's happening, and my
I messaged Michael too,
yeah,
and your daughters.
yeah. Did they respond?
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Well,
Good.
they probably knew I wouldn't stop messaging, so they
Right.
should just respond
Right.
because I would have just come to your house.
Well, you wouldn't have found me. It was a very the first hospital trip was very scary, and they
It took a long time for you to get there.
uh, and it
Trisha, go to the hospital. Go to the hospital.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it's that I'll be fine kind of attitude,
Yeah.
that a lot of us have. Like, I don't need to go to the
Mhm.
hospital. It's just a fever. And then, then it got to the point where I don't want to go because I don't want to get out of bed.
Right.
It's gonna take a lot to get me there. And my husband's like, then if you don't get up, oh, I'll be dialing 911. And I was like,
Mhm.
okay, we can't afford 911. I got it. I got it. I'm getting up. I had been the Sunday before in the woods and with Amara and Michael. And up here where I live, we are avid morel mushroom hunters. It is a big deal. I've been doing it since I was 4, like on with my dad. I mean, it's something that is really a big deal to me. And so we were out scoping out land and, trying to see if there was any kind of action yet. And, I had gotten bitten by a tick, and not uncommon to have a tick on you in this area. I mean, it's just not something that, you're like, "Ouch," and you get rid of it, right? Um, this one in particular, was unique in the sense that if you've ever had a tick, they're really kinda sneaky little suckers. They get on you and you don't even know it, and they dig in and they're attached to you sometimes for days before you even realize they're there. This one hurt when it dug in. So it really wasn't there that long. Um, and that was where I went initially, and I still stand on the fact that I believe I had Rocky Mountain spotted fever. Mostly because of all of my symptoms. and the rash that was on my body, and the fact that I responded well to the antibiotic that is typically used for tick illnesses. However, they send me home. I'm still feverish. There's not much to do but take the antibiotic. The test came back that that was not what I had. They wanted me to stop taking the antibiotic, which I did not. And I don't know about all y'all, but I'm 53 years old and I've never completed a whole thing of antibiotics ever. Like I start feeling better and I stop taking them. Well, I finished these. um, and I still was struggling, with being sick and not, able to really eat well, feverish. I am better today. I am getting better every day. I am still struggling with energy. I'm still struggling with brain fog, which is the one that is really kind of causing me a lot of struggles. But I did, one of the things that I did do, even though I had a really hard time with God through this and I really didn't feel like I was battling well, there were times where I stayed in a place of positivity. I was looking for the good in what was happening and why it was happening. Because I know God has a plan. And even if it was for me because there were moments where I had conversations with Michael, if I die, and he handled those like a trooper. But there were times where I was concerned that I could die, as was he. But I still was looking for the positives. And obviously one of the positives is, like we've already touched on, the fact that they were able to find a cyst on my ovaries that I didn't even know was there. Fairly large one that, praise God, is being fully paid for by the VA to have that removed next month. So I'm pretty excited about that. One of the things that's really cool about it is being done on the 7-year anniversary of my car accident.
Mm.
And I'm like, and so, like several family members who, ooh, what a coincidence. And I was like, I hope God saved me that day and he's going to save me on this day. So I feel very blessed about that. Not only blessed that VA is fully paying for that surgery, which was a pretty hefty surgery or hefty cost anyways. Surgery is outpatient,
Wow.
right? I mean, yeah, in and out, 2 weeks recovery. So, and one of the things that they were telling me that I thought was really cool is while I'm under, they do like a short pathology report, like not the full on thing, but they send off a portion of the cyst to be quickly analyzed within like 20 minutes while I'm still under. And if anything comes back, kind of questionable, then they will go ahead and take lymph nodes and things like that around my ovaries, which I thought was really kind of awesome that they have that ability. Obviously, it's still biopsy will take maybe a week or so to get the full pathology report, but so when I come out of surgery, I'm going to know what that 20-minute pathology report said. So I'm going to kind of have a pretty good idea of where I'm heading, right? So I'm just very, very fortunate about that. And I mean, I know where I'm headed because God's already made it really clear that it's not cancer. And even if it is, it's not going to be there when I mean, there's a part of me, and I mean, I've said this a couple of times and everybody's like, "Ooh, that's a little bit much." But I'm like, I would like for God to give me, I mean, my testimony just continues to evolve, right? And that's one of the neat things about a testimony. I've heard people say things like, "Well, you have a like Desi's got a great testimony, and I have my car accident that's a testimony that brought me to Christ." But we all have testimonies. We all have things in our lives that's relatable that people can connect to, and so to me, this is an opportunity for it to just continue, my testimony to continue to evolve and me to continue to reach more people. Ultimately, that's the goal, right? Is to reach more people for Christ.
Amen.
However, I am still really struggling. So um, I am going to take a little bit of time. Um, and I'm still going to be in the background supporting
Hmm.
Warrior Connections, but Steve has been kind enough to step into my place for me until I am 100%, which will probably be sometime in June. I'd like to say maybe end of June. And of course, I'll keep everybody updated. I love serving God, and it feels like I'm not when I'm not a part of something that I love as much as Warrior Connections. FOMO will probably be the hardest part, just the fear of missing out. For a while, I was really struggling with feeling like the devil was winning and that I wasn't sure that I could step back in like ever because I was afraid. Because, I mean, if devil sees me as such a threat that he put me to a place where I felt like I was gonna die for an entire month. And I mean, we're just a little podcast. Yes, we have this. Yes, we are podcasters of the year for Beyond FM Radio. But I
One soul's worth it. That, and I think it was my editing for that one episode that
oh
I
yeah, I
had.
definitely needed to come back to be able to do that.
You're like, "Oh, wait a minute, Devil King, take that one. That was awful.
And let
I
me fix
tried
that.
really hard." Ah,
Um,
I did try. It was bad though.
editing is hard. It's harder than it looks. I love doing it though. It's like, and I was
And
happy
you're
that
fast at it.
well, or so you think, but yeah, there is the love of being a part of someone's testimony too. You've gotten an opportunity to do that now with Desi, with Benny and Tony, and when it's different when you're in the studio having the conversation with them and asking them questions versus listening. Yes, I absolutely highly recommend listening. There's definitely something special about being a part of
The
um,
interview.
the interview
Yeah.
process. Yeah.
Steve actually made that comment
Yeah.
after we did Benny and Tony's interview.
You're getting something out. It's not just, it's like you're a part of their testimony versus just
Yeah.
hearing their testimony, if that makes sense. You're more involved, and yeah, you're right. You definitely retain more, and you f- you feel more of a connection
Mhm.
as well, like there I mean, we've established some really great relationships and connections with people that I mean, I wholeheartedly love and pray for every day because of uh the interview process, I mean, and I think is it can be very, for me anyways, and maybe not Desi so much, but for me it's very time consuming. There's a lot of For me, I like to do a lot of preparation. I like to do a lot of um
Research.
research on the person.
I
I
just
like
show up.
I yeah. And there's nothing wrong with just showing up. There isn't. And I love that about you. But for me, I do. I invest. And
I've actually, since you've been gone, I have been doing more research. I'm like, wait a minute, what? Because sometimes, the Holy Spirit takes a minute to come, and I'm like, oh, great. I got to figure out how to be Trisha. So I have been doing some questions. So yeah, I have actually been doing more research on the people than I normally do. So and I got to experience Warrior Connections from your view, which is actually pretty cool too. I got to say, the editing, even though I was awful at it, I got to see that part of it. And not that I never valued you before, because I always have. But I'm like, oh man, this is not what I like to do. And we've always worked out with the things that I enjoy doing,
right,
you don't like to do,
right,
and
right.
vice versa. That's
Yeah.
why we work so good together.
Yes.
I'll go and bug people and
You're all about
get
getting the interviews.
get the interviews.
Mm.
But one of the things that you actually had mentioned, I don't know if it was on the episode or just um, after I did my interview display, you actually edited Blake Martin, and you said that was probably the best interview you could have edited for coming back to doing some of the behind the scene task again.
And are you asking me why I said that?
So yeah, why would you what about that interview do you feel God put that as your comeback?
Because he was at a place where he was, that it. My first question to Blake was, explained to me dead man walking. And
Right.
I had gotten to a place where I had, not that I was, you know, I felt very distant from God through the process. Not necessarily dead, but the fact that he can use, and we've had this conversation, we've said this to so many times, he can use anybody and he can use
Mhm.
any situation and he could turn it all for good. And Blake was such an amazing story of that, that, I thought to myself, my little trivial fever, a month long fever, mind you, and I don't know if y'all have had a fever anywhere close to a month, but like a day or two, and you're kind of like, this sucks.
Mhm.
And by week 3, I'm like, this really sucks. um, but his contribution to Warrior Connections was so meaningful to me because I could really relate to feeling like I needed to be reminded that that there was nothing too big for my God.
Right. So, what was God teaching you while you were in the healing or even the battle, I guess, not just the healing that you're getting, but also the battle?
Well, like I said a minute ago, nothing's too big for him. Nothing.
Mhm.
Um, and I mean, I really, Desi, it was the first time in my entire life where I really thought I was gonna die. And I mean, I didn't.
Obviously.
I mean, I had these conversations with God. I never stopped talking to him. That didn't ever happen. But sometimes it was more like, just take me now. Then, I mean, if that's what you want to do, let's go ahead and get her done. Because I'm tired. I'm tired of suffering. And and when you think about it, yes, having a fever for a month is excruciating.
That's
Yes,
awful.
having no one to tell you what's wrong with you. My diagnosis, by the way, is fever of unknown origin. Girl, they gave me every test you could think of. They tested me from mono to HIV to lupus to rheumatoid arthritis to leukemia to lymphoma to, I mean, you name it, they tested me for it. Every kind of, well, COVID, of course, and norovirus and the flu, and I mean, all the tick-borne illnesses, which of course also came back negative. But I could explain that one away because I still think that's what it was. Um, and they got to a point, Desi, where they started just throwing the C word around like it was just nothing. Like, we can't figure out what's wrong with you, so you have cancer. And I'm like, well, that doesn't work for me because
Right.
you know cancer doesn't cause your entire body to stiffen up to the point where you can't move. Sorry, that's not cancer.
Right.
Cancer doesn't cause you to have rashes and all over your body. No, sorry, that doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
um, I needed to feel like, though I knew God was in it, um, I never lost hope that He was going to solve the problem. I just didn't know what that was going to look like.
Right.
And being in a place of the waiting, it was that when you don't know what's wrong. I think that is the unknown of just having to trust him through that
What
process, through that battle, was really scary. And not because I
Yeah.
didn't want to trust him, of course, because that's what I've been preaching on this show for a year. I
Right.
mean, it's what we say all the time,
Yeah.
and I know what the word says, and I I had a couple of Bible verses that I just, um
It's funny you said that. That was actually my
what's
next
that?
question. I said it's funny that you say that because it was my next question of
Well, I
what
knew there
scripture.
had to be I knew it was coming
Oh,
at some point.
you know it's coming. Um, Prayers that have helped carry you, like, give us the battle plan that you went through.
Um, well, there was a couple of verses that I really, stayed very connected to, and one is, Psalms 30, verse 2. "Lord my God, I cried to you for help, and you healed me." And I just did that. I just cried to him, um, a lot. Um, and it happened a lot at night, um, when I was by myself, or, sometimes when Michael was asleep beside me because I couldn't sleep. Still really don't. I mean, actually, I am sleeping better, the last, couple of probably about 3 or 4 nights now I've been able to sleep, like, maybe, like, a 3-hour block of time instead of, like, every waking up every, like, 45 minutes. And I was
And shout out to Michael, by the way, just side
right.
note there, your husband stepping up like he did.
And
Um,
that was, yes, another part of my positive from my experience, and I shared with him and with pretty much everybody who will listen about how he and I going into this, we weren't, like, in a great place in our relationship. We weren't, like, the relationships ebb and flow. Sometimes you're up and sometimes you're down, and we were down. We were just kinda like, 2 ships passing through the night. You do you, I'll do me type behavior a lot. Not all the time, but some. And he stepped up to a level. Let me back up a little bit. I was even having conversations with God like, why did you let me marry him? Why am I married to him? Um, do I it and I was questioning God in that area. And I was having conversations with him about Michael. I was praying for Michael through it, but at the same time, I was like, this is no fun. We are not in a good place. I do not like this. I would like to be out of this. So I'm praying, kind of similar to your, I want to go for a helicopter ride. Um, I want my marriage better. God help my marriage to be better. And and I saw that through him stepping up to a level that I mean, I couldn't have done it without him, Desi. I mean, I don't know what I would
Right.
have done had he not been here. He did so much for me, and I am beyond grateful for to him for being like no joke, just genuinely an angel. He really um and God said, "See?" Like, I mean, I wasn't but maybe a week or so into this ordeal where God was like, "You wanted to see why I put you together. You wanted to see something from him that you needed. Well, here you go." And it was such a positive, and our marriage has been so amazing since. I mean, since the beginning April. So I'm just very grateful for
praise
that.
God.
Yeah, so yay God. Another verse that God, had me, reciting a lot is, "Bless the Lord, my soul, and do not forget any of his benefits, who pardons all your guilt and who heals all your diseases." And that's Psalms 103, 2 and 3. And, that not just the heals all your diseases, but who pardons all your guilt and heals all your diseases. Okay, so the idea of I don't think we think about it very often, the level of um, guilt we sometimes struggle with and we don't even realize it. Feelings of inadequacy or failures in our relationships, our job, our walk with God even. I mean, I had a lot of guilt. I had a lot of guilt when I was sitting in the hospital and I wasn't doing what you normally do. Which when you were in the hospital, you're playing your Christian music, you're praying with everybody. Everybody who walked in that room knew that you were a Jesus freak and that you were all in for God. And I wasn't doing that. and I was struggling with that because I wanted
It
to
was a
do it.
different battle, though. But you and I talked about that. It was a
Yeah.
different battle.
Yeah, no, I know. I know. And I mean, y I but I mean, I wanted to be doing that, but I wasn't. So, I mean, I struggled
Mhm.
a little bit with guilt around that. In fact, so much that I ended up having to go back to the doctor at one point during my fever and, and they did some blood cultures on me and, girl, I got stuck so many times. I had so much blood taken. I don't know how I'm not
Probably
white.
black and blue.
Right. I mean, I should be a lot whiter than I am. Um, they had taken a blood culture and it was a contaminated sample. So, and that sample showed bacteria in my blood. So they call me and they're like, "You need to go back to the ER immediately and get on like antibiotics again." And so I did begrudgingly. And I mean, I was crying the whole way there. Like I did not want to go. I was just like, cause I don't like being in the hospital. I wanted to be in my bed. I wanted to, there is just no reason for me to go to the hospital. And again, I'm thinking more money. Like, I mean, that's a lot of
Mhm.
money, and I'm not working. Which, Michael had to take off work to be able to take care of me. I haven't really bitten back to work yet. I'm working on it. I'm trying. I'm optimistic that I'm gradually working myself back into work a little bit here and there. And then I'm like, okay, I need a nap. I'm sitting in the hospital the second time.
Welcome back, Steve.
Thank you. Right. I had gotten this point where I was taking that Tylenol and ibuprofen in a way that I was able to pretty much keep the fever at bay. I
Mhm.
mean, like it would start to spike and I would like immediately be able to keep myself from being a high fever, like 99-ish. Um, and the second time I go back to the hospital, they wanted me to spike a higher fever before they would give me any Tylenol because they wanted to see how high my temperature would go. I got to like 100.4 and I was like, "That's it? We're done? You're giving me Tylenol. I can't do it anymore." And I mean, I was like, and God said, "Why do you think I have you back in the hospital, Trisha?"
Mm.
And it was in that moment that I realized I needed to speak more Jesus and be, you know, an example of him in that moment instead of, and not that I was an ugly patient. I mean, I was a good patient. I was, quite frankly, I know how to kiss butt to get good nurse service, right? But I was definitely not speaking Jesus. So it's like 10 o'clock at night and I have music blaring and I'm singing at the top of my lungs and I am um talking to pretty much anybody who wants to hear that I love Jesus. Um, and I had a nurse come in and sit with me and and she was there for a good 10, 15 minutes just listening to me talk. I was really struggling at that time with fear of dying because
Mhm.
I'm now about 2.5, 3 weeks in of no, it's probably over 3 weeks of having a fever. And I was really exhausted by it. I just didn't
Right.
have the energy anymore, and I was just so beat, and, I was sitting there telling her, I said, "I have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, and the devil is attacking me, and and I can't take it anymore, and I feel like I'm failing." And I didn't get the sense that she was a believer, but I said, "I'm here to tell you that God's not gonna lose, and I don't think that his goal is to let me die, but I just am really fighting it. I'm fighting that feeling of being in this worldly mindset of I'm gonna die. I'm not gonna make it, And then God's like, "Who's your daddy? What
Mhm.
got you thinking that you're not gonna survive?
Right.
I have a plan for all of this." and I'm gonna lay it all out if I have to in my time, not yours. And, it today was the day that I found out VA is gonna cover my surgery. And that was like, I'm just bawling in the primary care office, doctor's office, because I literally, let me just throw this out here. Any of y'all, Steve knows, VA is not really known to move quickly.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
No.
Okay. So I did my, today is May 13th. I did my application online for my VA benefits on May 4th.
Oh.
May 5th, they called me to schedule me for my primary care doctor. I knew the primary care doctor because I specifically asked for my father-in-law's primary care doctor, so I would know her. They scheduled me today. So from May 4th to May 13th, I went from filling out an application to being told, "We're gonna cover your surgery of $40,000 completely." Now, I don't
Wow.
know about y'all, but
It's
that
God.
that's that's all God. That's that's
Mhm.
not me, you know? Uh, Less than 2 weeks? I mean, I remember taking that long just to get an appointment when I was in the military. So God's continuing to show me and bless me and point me to his promises. It's just, um, when you're in those battles, sometimes it's really hard to, it's not that I don't want to use the word didn't trust him, because I did trust him. But it's very easy to feel like the devil is attacking you and kind of letting him.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like joining in with that mindset of, yeah, you're right. I am going to die.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you're right. This there's no hope. Oh, yeah, you're right. It's cancer, like all of these negative things that people or the devil um wants to throw at you. Um and God is so good. And he
Mhm.
is
All the time.
All
all
the
the
time.
time. All the time. Yeah, even when it doesn't feel like it. Even when it doesn't feel like it.
What a testimony we added. Just saying.
Thanks.
Man.
Feels like it feels like it kinda that sounds like something I say. Just saying.
I've been
Mhm.
trying to do the Trisha role for so long. I think it's
It's starting to rub off.
starting to rub off now. Mhm.
So, um, with that, I am definitely gonna take a bit of a sabbatical from interviewing, which is gonna be a bummer for me, but I am very grateful for Steve getting the opportunity to join Desi in interviewing people, and I will definitely be on the back end, making sure it sounds right.
Right. Because
Amen.
we know that I cannot do that. But I'm thankful that you are stepping back into what God started. Not it's not really about us at all, but
Amen.
from day one, have been lock and shields, and I couldn't imagine doing it with anyone else anyway.
Thank you. I
So I'm
love you.
glad that you're stepping back in to the ministry. And I know whenever I approached you with it, I said, listen, I don't I want to make sure that Satan knows. And Trisha, you and I have gone back and forth
Yeah.
with battles. It's so it's now that your battle's ending, I'm like, okay, I got to arm up every day because I'm next. So we've been passing battles back and forth, and really, what got me through a lot of those moments of I'm not hearing God right now was you stepping in and pulling me get off the bench. I mean,
Well,
remember I was going
oh yeah.
through a cycle where I was like, I
Yeah.
just want to sit the bench. I'm
Yeah.
tired.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was loud, but I was tired.
Yeah.
And I didn't want you to feel it was okay to sit the bench by saying, "Can we do this?" I just wanted you to know that you are so important to me and Warrior Connections.
Thank you.
And I didn't want you to feel that anyone was stepping in to replace you at all. But I'm thankful that
Absolutely.
Steve agreed to do it,
Yeah.
that it's just cool watching just different warriors since this started the women's Bible study that we do with battle buddies. Just seeing our battle buddies step up in prayer, the GoFundMe, that brings that up. I'd like to talk about that for a minute. We started a GoFundMe for Trisha, and just getting the prayers, support,
Yeah.
everyone reaching out to ask about you, just asking what's happening with Warrior Connections because we kind of paused there for a minute. We were in limbo because
Mhm.
I didn't know how to do Trisha. So the part that I edited was me learning to open an editing program because I had never done it one day before
Mhm.
that.
Yeah,
And
my husband said I should probably train you on that just for future
just
reference.
a
Yeah,
little bit, yeah.
maybe we should do
Maybe open the program would help. I'm YouTubing it and telling Steve, "You're IT. You're supposed to know all this.
that. It's a thing.
Show me something." But, it's just the women's Bible study stepping up to help me different getting the lessons together,
Yeah,
helping send screenshots of different books, and it's just been incredible watching battle buddies team up.
yeah, yeah. It has. I'm very
So,
very grateful
how do
for
we
all.
share the GoFundMe on here at this point?
Oh yeah,
Is there, like, a link? I will post the link
yeah,
of Risha's, GoFundMe again. When this episode airs, we will post the GoFundMe if you want to show love and support to help carry her through the rest of this battle. She's not been working, and her husband's had some time off helping her get through these moments.
yeah,
Um, how has it felt for you knowing that people have been stepping up and helping carry things and not losing the momentum, but Warrior Connections just actually is growing, fighting for you?
yeah.
How's that felt for you?
Well, it's encouraging. It's inspiring. It makes you feel like you're part of something more than just two girls doing a little podcast. You know?
Talking.
Yeah, yeah. It feels like more. Yeah, and it helps to the idea of being in a group of people that genuinely step in when you just can't step up, you know? Um, and I like to be the one that steps in, not steps needs the help. So, um, in fact, I prefer that. This or yeah, I don't know who prefers to be on the receiving end. I prefer to be on the giving end. So
Yeah.
it's been um, a shift for me. Um, um, seeking especially seeking financial support because that's not one of the kind of things that, I like to have to do, and, I've always had the attitude that I was, um, Miss Independent, I don't need no and now I'm like, "Oh my god," um, I was in bed for a month, and, I mean, some people still get paid when, I don't get paid. I'm self-employed, so self-employed means, self. That's it, just me, and,
Yeah.
Uh, and let me just share this real quick. So one of the things that I was really struggling with, when, and I've gotten a lot closer. I was like doing this every day. I would spend sometimes hours. I'd get up at like 4 o'clock in the morning and spend hours in the Word before my day started, and I didn't want to do it. I I lost all interest in doing it. I would and, like, going back to that Bible verse I read to you a little bit ago about having the guilt. I was really struggling with the guilt of not getting into the Word, and I'm like, "I shouldn't" you shouldn't first of all, you shouldn't feel guilty if you're not reading your Bible, but there was that part of me that really was, because I wanted it, and I knew how
Right.
good it felt when I was doing it. Um, so I was really struggling with feeling like I was, failing in my walk and I was falling further and further away from God. And um, I had set myself up in the beginning of the year with verses that were connected to my word for the year, which is pray. So I have like this list of all these verses that I study, and I will study the whole chapter. I don't just study that one verse. I sometimes end up, if it's a short enough book, I study the whole book. But I had trying to find where God, that was yesterday. God really hit me pretty hard um with, so I have since gone back to my Bible study. Just this past week I've been getting up in the morning and doing it. And it hasn't I've been getting up at 4 a.m. and I'm not
Oof,
doing 2 hours. But I'm spending,
it's a start.
time with God, and I'm building that back up. But here I am struggling with um not knowing where my funds are going to come from, my finances. And um I, I've spent a lot of time really just being like, okay, God, whatever may come, come what may. I'm not going to let it stress me out. I'm not going to be upset about it. I'm going to be okay with, whatever happens. Keep the roof over my head, please. That was kind of the only one. Maybe the lights on would be nice, but other than that, I'm okay with everything else. Here it is. Found it. Okay. So had I been doing my study regularly, right, I probably would have perused over this, and it wouldn't have hit me like it does now. Okay. So Matthew, he- Sermon on the Mount, um, lot of prayer throughout that, of course, the Lord's Prayer, and pray on this, don't pray on that. I mean, very specific stuff. But yesterday I came across in my study Matthew 6:24. No one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or will be devoted to the one and despise the other. Here's the hook, line, and sinker. You cannot serve God and wealth. Now, had I read that a month ago when I should have been in my Bible study, it wouldn't have meant anything. But God is so good that when you pick up his word, he's gonna speak to you in that moment. And I keep thinking I'd have been in probably Luke or John by now, right? But because I took that time off, God was able to speak to me today in my situation right here, right now. And to me, that's one of those things where you're like, he's present. He's so present in your life right
Right.
here, right now. You know what I mean? Um, so it was very it I was like, well, you know what? I don't need to serve wealth. I'd rather serve God at this point. So I've got whatever come what may, Lord. I'm fine. You know what? If I'm grateful to, I have my health sort of,
Awesome.
a lot more than I did.
What would you tell someone tonight that if you felt weak or forgotten type of feeling
If
or
I
even
felt weak,
lost?
if you felt weak, well, and I think I kind of touched on that a little bit, Steve, and that
Mhm.
is that, because I felt lost. I mean, I felt there were times where I was like, I mean, I'm definitely not gonna liken myself to David, right? But I mean, he was a little wishy washy, you know. So one Psalms is he's praise the Lord, and the next Psalms is he's like, where are you? And so I mean, that's kind of what I was feeling. Like I had these moments where I was like, I know you're there, Lord. I feel you. I feel this. I know that you got a purpose and a plan. And then there were then like the next flip, like I don't know, an hour later, and my fever's back. I'm like, I don't where I'm so alone, God. I don't feel you present. So I think never forgetting, just don't forget that his truth. Don't don't ever it's easy to question God. It is, because we don't understand. But in the
Mhm.
grand scheme of things, man, he's so good, and he has such an amazing plan. And it's okay to have weakness. It's okay to feel like you're unsure. Those feelings are
Good.
completely normal. Don't stay in them.
Yeah.
That's good.
Keep reaching for Christ.
Now, do you have any, like, encouragement for people that are going through what you've been going through to keep them going?
You're encouraging our listeners tonight, Trisha.
Yeah.
You want to take a moment and do you have anything you want to say to our listeners?
Hard question. Regardless of your situation, regardless of how bad it feels, there is always a purpose for that pain. And if you can look for the good, it's around you. It's there. Even in the darkest of times, even in the time when you you feel like there's just no way you're gonna get out of the situation you're in, he's still got you.
Oh, yeah. Awesome.
Oh, man.
Oh, man.
Well, Trisha, thank you. Tonight was a reminder that even warriors sometimes need healing and encouragement. Sometimes the strongest thing a person can do is allow others to help carry the weight while they rest. Trisha, we love you so much and we are standing with you through this season forever. And Steve, thank you for stepping in to
Yes,
help
and
carry
Steve.
Warrior Connections during this time. And for everyone else listening tonight, if you're walking through sickness, exhaustion, grief, burnout, or spiritual warfare, please remember that God sees you in the battle. You're not forgotten, you're not abandoned, and your story isn't over. Thank you all for joining us on this special episode of Warrior Connections on Beyond FM Radio. Keep your armor up, keep your armor on, keep your eyes up on Jesus. This has been Trisha, Desi, and Steve. Bye.
Bye. Steve, you're gonna have to learn
Steve, you
how to
gotta
say
do
bye.
the bye, Steve.
Say bye.
Bye.
Say bye.
Bye.
That was good.
Bye.